heard a lot about encouragement in the first talk, and I also want to encourage all of you to find your path in science beyond academia, within academia whatsoever. The important message of my talk today is curiosity and serendipity, which means please go and find out what is best for you so that you can continue and have fun with physics. And in order to make this a little bit more understandable, I will take you on a journey that is actually my journey from the beginning on, and that's around 40 years when I started physics, or it's even more, just to let you know that a path doesn't have to be a straight line. There can be many unexpected turns and new beginnings. And at the end, when you're 60, when you're my age, everything looks like maybe it was a good idea to take all those decisions. But at the time you change a path, you are, of course, afraid what is coming up next. But I think it is always a good way to take those decisions. So now I talk a little bit about my last 40-something years in physics to let you know how a typical life outside and beyond academia could start and how the path could be. When going to school, I wanted to become an earthquake researcher. You can imagine that was, of course, a childish idea. But anyhow, I started off studying geophysics. That was very interesting, but soon there were many hurdles at that time as a female. I couldn't find a place to have a practicum. I couldn't do a lot of things at these days. And very soon somebody came from solid state physics and told me, well, you're interested in phonons, aren't you? I mean, that's what sound waves are and earthquakes are. So what about electron phonon coupling? Well, I didn't at that point of time understand that this is very close, but anyhow switched to solid state physics, which was a very interesting move because it was fascinating science. And I stayed there around for the master and the PhD and also postdoc. That time I thought it was really funny to do research, but I'm a person who wants to have quick results and learn a lot of different things. So maybe staying in research was not my nature. So in parallel to my PhD, I already started to work for a TV station, for a German TV station, and giving science reports and lectures. At that time, many years ago, it was the time where people discussed the possibility of cold fusion, which of course did not work. It was a mistake of the scientists. But anyhow, I prepared some films on fusion and hot fusion, of course. But TV is something where you have to find your place in a hierarchy. And that's also a reason maybe many women leave at TV, public TV stations, because it's a little bit more about elbows and those kind of things. So I thought maybe I get and will become an advisor. So McKinsey came along and asked me whether I would like to join. At that point of time, I thought was planning to have children. Typical life. I asked some questions, the females I met at McKinsey, and none of them had children. So I said to myself, well, maybe McKinsey is not where I want to stay. So I was on an airplane to a conference, actually to a physics conference at that time, reading Phys Rev letters, and the guy next to me started talking to me, and he was a patent attorney. He told me about how much fun it is to be a patent attorney. And he at that time was probably my age now. And he was still so fascinated about his job And at the end of the flight, there was only a 1-hour flight. He offered me a job. He said, well, in case you're interested, do you want to become a patent attorney? I'm going to educate you. And yes, I decided to do that because I thought, if this is really a job where everything is still exciting when you are 60, where you can have time to build up a family, can have children, that's the perfect solution for me. So around 28 years ago, or maybe 29, I started my education to become a patent attorney. So again, learning and now law, which actually is not so different from physics because it's about logical thinking. And during the education to become a patent attorney, I got 2 children. At that time, I was already above 30. So very often as a female, it's a point of time where you have to think how to adjust your working life with your family life and how to have everything in your life. I think that this is a very important issue and it might also be a reason for the leaking pipe we do see in STEM subjects, and which is a great issue, which we really want to work against and find new ways to cope with whatever wishes everybody has on which path everyone wants to follow. So I started then to become a patent attorney, which I think still is a great job because you meet scientists and then you are a kind of translator, translating whatever they have developed into paperwork and for court. After a couple of years, I think it was around 20, no, maybe 18 years working in patent prosecution, which means drafting patents, defending the same. I was asked to move again the law firm and join my present firm, which is a US law firm with several thousand attorneys. And I thought that sounds pretty interesting. But at that point of time, my children were already at an age where I could spend more working hours. And now I think the fascinating side of this job is to be in front of court and be within the economic world and see what is done with all the inventions. So now I'm more concentrating on patent infringement litigation. But of course, once starting off as a physicist has always drawn me back to physics as such. So very soon after having become a patent attorney, I more or less came back to my alma mater, the Goethe-Universität, starting lecturing on patent law to motivate people to come and do something and see possibilities outside the world of academia. And I'm still giving those lectures, which is great to talk to the students and maybe motivate the students to find their way, whatever this might be. I mean, not for everybody becoming a patent attorney will be the best solution. One of my other, let's say, aims in life is to assist people in finding their way and to motivate people to study physics and science, because I think we are at a point of time where we do not have enough students coming and to our universities to study physics. I give you an example. When you are on a party and you chat around and want to be cool, it's easy to say, well, physics, I actually never listened to this subject. I never got it. Just imagine I would go on a party and tell somebody, oh, German. Oh, that was so hard for me. I never really listened. Nobody would actually think I'm a cool person because German lessons at school were considered to be so important. But physics is not considered to be so important. So something has to be changed. And how can you change something is to become active. And I decided to become active in the Physikalische Verein in German. It's a physical society with a little bit more than 2,000 members, but we have a YouTube channel where we have, I think, a very broad reach. Every Wednesday, there are talks on presentations on physics, and every Friday on astrophysics. We try to provide some kind of education to all age groups, children, students, and elderly, and keep everybody interested, curious, so that maybe the appreciation for the STEM subjects is becoming a different one. And that's why I think Twitter and all the social medias are also very important, just to show young girls, when you are a physicist or an engineer, you're a normal person with a normal life, and it can be fun. And just to make it, well, understandable, what we do, what is our world, and why we did those decisions, why we actually ended where we are. We are doing what we are. So now turning back to academia, you probably know the numbers, the so-called leaking pipe. So more than 50% of all students are females. In the science, in the STEM fields, it's much less. Physics, it's, I think, 28-29%. But there are not 28 or 29% of female physics professors. So there is a leaking pipe, and I think today we have a full forum to maybe motivate and encourage you to go forward with your path and stay in academia or do whatever you want to do with physics, because we have only 24% of leading females in Germany. Leading means having a leading position in a company. That's also a very small number. So something seems to be odd with all those females starting off, 52% of female students. And what happens then? Is it all about family planning? I think our society is flexible enough nowadays to make it possible that you can have a family and a career. And that's why today I want to let you know it is possible. I have 2 daughters. They are both at the end of the 20s now. Unfortunately, none of them studied physics, but they found their way in life, of course. And I think my main point also with my daughters was there is no wrong decision. Just make a decision. And then maybe years later, you can see that this was a good decision. Or if it was a bad decision, you can learn from the bad decision. So it's always a question, please dare to move forward. Don't stop. It's just, there are so many opportunities around. Keep your eyes open, and I'm pretty sure that there is an interesting path for everybody around. So I didn't want to intimidate you with all the stuff I did. And of course, it's not a normal life to have so many U-turns and turnarounds and change of jobs. But I didn't know which job would be a perfect fit for me when I started university. I think nobody knows. It's even difficult to decide what to study. So that, of course, you already have decided because you studied physics or you are still studying physics. But then all the other decisions have to be taken. And it seems to be, that's at least what statistic tells us, it seems to be that women tend to be a little bit shy in taking those decisions. And being amongst the older people on this panel today, I think I would like to let you know that it is fun to change. And even when being a patent attorney, I changed a lot. I changed law firms. Well, I'm with this US law firm now for 13 years because I think it opens up so many opportunities within this one firm because it's rather large. But under normal circumstances, I'm not of the opinion that you should stick with a job for 10, 20 years if it is not your dream of what you always wanted to become. So stick to your dreams, stay curious, and move forward. And I do hope that I have encouraged you a little bit on your journey by sharing my journey. And maybe you have some questions at the end of this presentation. I try to speed up a little bit because as far as I know, we only have 10 minutes left altogether. And I think it would be really great to have some kind of conversation, because that is about how to stay curious and how to find your opportunities. So please, is there anything you would like to know?
Thank you so much for this very interesting and inspiring talk. So first up, let's have a round of applause. Thanks so much. Yes, we have one question already. One person first says, thanks a lot for your sharing. It is very encouraging. How can one find patent attorney training or an entry-level job in Germany? I personally have not seen any vacancies on LinkedIn or something similar with a PhD in physics.
Actually, we are desperately looking for a new physicist. So please send me an email. I'm happy to talk to you. The thing is, you have to find a patent attorney training you, meaning it's a kind of old-fashioned thing. You go to university, it's a remote university to learn about law, but at the end of the day, you get trained by a person. It's a training on a job, meaning you go along with one patent attorney for 2 years, and this patent attorney will teach you all he or she knows. As a patent attorney, you can train 2 people at a time. And after 5 years of being a patent attorney, so you must have some experience. Actually, we, as in all jobs worldwide, we have a problem with the baby boomers. I mean, I'm a baby boomer, certainly, and our generation will fade out soon. And we need a lot of young people to join and step in and follow us. The problem is actually find the right people. So in case you do speak 3 languages, meaning German, English, and French, which are the official 3 languages at the European institutes and courts, are scientists and like to transfer your knowledge, please give me a call immediately after the presentation or send me an email. I'm pretty easy to find. It can be either at the Physikalische Verein or at Jones Day or wherever. I haven't prepared any slide, but it's a very long name and there is nobody other with such a complicated name. So it's easy. If you put in this name into Google, you'll find at least one of my email addresses. And I'm happy to talk to you.
Okay, perfect. So maybe someone already found a job after asking this question. We have another one. Sabina asks, what are some tools or insights in physics that are useful in the market?
That's an interesting question because I think it's about the logic of thinking and the foundation of mechanics, optics, a little bit of everything, actually. I don't think that there is one thing you have to know in particular. So let's talk about what I did. I was really doing research with the Max Planck Institute in Stuttgart, and actually doing my measurements in Grenoble at that time in France, and it was about electron-phonon coupling. Well, that is definitely something nobody wants to patent. I mean, this is science in its pure context. So I never thought about whether this is a good idea to do this kind of research or not, because unconventional superconductivity below 1 degree in a magnetic fields of around 40 Tesla is nothing you can really, well, apply somewhere. So I don't think it's about what you do in science. It is about learning to think as a scientist, learning to think as a physicist. And the tools are just the classical tools, everything you learn until the bachelor, maybe. And of course, learning how to find answers to your questions in physics. So of course, I've dealt with a lot of different subjects, shape, memory, alloys, coatings, whatsoever. And this has nothing to do with electrons and phonons. I did my research on. Maybe it has, of course, everything has electrons inside, but in a different kind of context, of course. So many times the inventors and the technical educated decision makers at companies are happy to talk to somebody who has been in a laboratory, who knows his or her way around in a laboratory, and now knows how to speak with scientists. Just, it's about the language and the questions you pose. And then again, we are at curiosity. As a scientist, as a researcher, we have so many questions we want to have answered, and we are looking for all those answers. And that is the best starting point for a patent attorney.
Thank you. And then we have another question, or a final question, I should say, by Laura, our host. Yes.
Maybe I would like to pass on the question to the person from the audience. There's one more question in the chat, namely how to learn physics as a high schooler without guidance.
Actually, the professors should guide you, and at high school, the teachers. But there are some kind of societies like the Physikalischer Verein, where we have groups of pupils coming to us, all age groups, also at the end of their high school time. And at the moment, we have a group building up a telescope, which we will shift to Spain to enable pupils from all over Germany to do some kind of research remotely at their home and use our telescope. So what we offer, and there are many other, I think, societies offering these kind of things. We have teachers who, as a hobby, come to us and teach students in physics by preparing experiments, building up something, doing research. We assist them for Jugendforsch and all those kind of projects. So I think the teachers should be the ones who guide you. And if the teacher at the school or universities are not the right guiding people, maybe you have to go into the internet or just go next door and find a society or a club or something where you can be with people and doing interesting physics and actually kind of laboratory. And I think starting to build up any kind of machine is the best way of learning physics, because then you see the result at the end of the day. You see, I had this screw and I changed a little bit here and I The angle was not correct at the beginning, and now I can see the moon perfectly. For example, when you are building up a telescope, I think those are the best motivations. So at my time, it was the bicycle, the car, whatever. I had an older brother who always got for Christmas Fischertechnik, and he never played with this stuff. So I just got it, took it, and played around, and that assisted my decision to go into a scientific field. So it's again about staying curious, asking questions, starting doing something.
Okay, I think it's time to wrap up. We have one last question. I think it can be answered quickly. And the question is, you mentioned 3 languages, German, English, and French. Is there a way for people who are not fluent in all 3 of them to improve while already following the path you suggest?
Yes, of course. So there are a lot of courses offered by, for example, the European Patent Office, the law firms, educating. So we do have language classes you can attend. English is normally not a problem. French is a problem with German students very often. So we do offer French lessons. And as we do have, of course, offices in Paris and other cities, it's easy for us because we can also send students to other places where we are active just to get the last brush of, well, getting fluent